Okay, good evening. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Freedom Thinking Community Group. The date is the 17th of March, 2026. That's a quarter of the way through. It's over a quarter of the way through the year. No, is it? No, it's not. Yes, it is. It is, isn't it? It is. Thanks, Ange. It's over a quarter of the way through the year. Brilliant. Right. My name's Dave Ellery. Jen's just putting Luce to bed. I can still hear her up, but I know she's very, very tired. We've had one of those rushed evenings where you think everything's going sweet and then your car puts up catastrophic failure, pull it over, switch your engine off, don't move. So we've had one of those evenings where it's been run straight in, eat a bit of food, straight into this. So thanks everybody for being here. Thank you so much for being here, everybody who's here. Really, really appreciate it. And thanks for just letting me just settle down for the first few minutes before we got started. Thanks for your patience. Yep, just a reminder, we have a retreat coming up. This is a 4-day retreat in the beautiful little village, Lakeland Village in the Lake District of Grasmere. It'll be a 4-day event and it'll be with Jenny and myself. It's a catered event with breakfast and dinner catered for, accommodation, in a beautiful location in Grasmere, just outside of Grasmere Village, up towards where Sting used to own a home. It might even be Sting's old home. I have to figure that one out. Sting the singer. Yeah, so we've got a few spaces. A few spaces have gone. We've got some spaces left. It's an arrival of the 29th of May, with a 1st of June start. So if anybody's interested, get in touch with us, info@freedomthinking.co.uk. There is some spaces gone. Crystal, who's on at the moment, actually, she's just dropped off. She disappeared. She was on. I know she's coming. So yeah, look forward to seeing everybody there. If you're watching this in catch up, please like, share, subscribe, comment, please. And apparently, if you do that, it helps out Freedom Thinking with the algorithm, and it shows up to more people. So if you wouldn't mind helping us out, we'd really appreciate you clicking the like, share, subscribe, or whatever, and commenting. The more comments you get, negative or positive. Apparently, it doesn't matter. It helps us out. So thank you so much, and thank you everybody who's watching and catch up. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your presence. Just gonna let Demir load up. Welcome, Demir. Loads of love, bud. Okay. Anything else I need to say? Yeah, if you want to work with Jen and I, give us a shout. info@freedomthinking.co.uk if you think that you would like us to help you with anything. If you'd be interested in coming to work with us, get in touch with us. info@freedomthinking.co.uk. Again, I would push you towards our website, apart from we still haven't had it rebuilt after it was destroyed by bots. But that's been a couple of months now, so we need to get that sorted out, but we just haven't had a moment to get that sorted out. So forgive us with regard to our website, but you can get in touch with us at info@freedomthinking.co.uk, and also on Facebook. We can be reached, and we post bits and pieces on the Facebook page, which is freedomthinking.co.uk. No, it's not. It's Freedom Thinking on Facebook. My apologies. And we also have a WhatsApp group and a Telegram group, with one of each. Some people prefer to use Telegram, some people prefer to use WhatsApp, where we post information about what Freedom Thinking's doing. We share bits and pieces. It's not one of those which is constant. Jen and I aren't marketing people. We're not constantly bombarding you with stuff. We encourage people not to communicate internally inside that group. We ask people to click on the name if they want to communicate with somebody in the group, and like directly message them directly rather than through the Freedom Thinking WhatsApp or Telegram group. It's just annoying when your phone's always binging, and we don't like it. So yeah, that's what we ask for people. So if you do wish to join the Freedom Thinking WhatsApp or Telegram group, where also once this is recorded, we just put it straight up onto the WhatsApp and Telegram groups, and you've just got the link there. You can just click on it. You can share it from there as well. And we put information about the retreats and anything that we're doing on there. Just drop us an email if you're interested and want to be added to the WhatsApp or Telegram group. Again, to info@freedomthinking.co.uk with your telephone number and your preference. Would you prefer Telegram or WhatsApp? Cool. So let Rach join in. Hi, Rach. Right. There might be a couple of others joining in as we go. Just going to put my phone on silent. There we go. All right. Thank you all for being here. Back in the north now. Been down south for a couple of weeks, so back in the north. It's nice. I love it down there as well, though. Okay. Somebody, just before we started recording, somebody asked if we could explore ego. Ego. Cool topic. Something I think is very little understood. And I can share with you to the level of my understanding of ego. I think, first of all, one of the things I'd like to say about ego is it's not an enemy. It gets such a bad rep. But I don't see ego as being a negative thing. Ego's an identity. Ego is an illusory identity. It's an identity created within the mind. It's an identity of thoughts. It's an identity of beliefs. I think my favorite description I've ever come across to this day of ego was by Sid Banks when he said, the ego is everything you believe to be true about yourself and this world. It's a ball of thoughts. It's a load of beliefs. You see, and this ties in really nicely with the power of thought conversation and the thought created reality that we live in. Because as we believe, like in the Bible, no, not in the Bible, it was removed from the Bible apparently 200 years after it was written. In the Book of Thomas, Jesus is reputed to have said, "It's done unto you as you believe." Your reality will be experienced as you believe. How you believe is what you see in the world. It's not a true reflection of the world. It's your reflection of the world. It's my reflection of the world. It's done unto me as I believe, so I see in the world. If I'm somebody who believes in man-made climate change, any little glitch in the weather, I would associate with man-made climate change. If I don't believe in catastrophic man-made climate change, any little glitch in the weather, I would just see as being weather. You would get two very different realities experienced depending on what belief you hold. And that's how it works. That's how all our realities are born. There's no escaping that. It's where the prison of the ego is born. The prison of the ego being my mother once did this diagram. I'll draw it out here. I loved it. I used to do this community group started in person in Kendal in the little town where we live. And we used to get people come in, and since lockdown, we stopped doing it in person and we just went online, and we've never gone back to doing it in person. But I always remember my mum, she she stood up and said, "Can I share something?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can." And she drew this diagram. She drew herself stood in front of this tunnel. And she said, it was beautiful. She stood up and she stood in front of this big blank piece of paper, one of them flip chart pieces of paper. There's nothing written on it. And she just wiped her hand over it and she said, "I was born into an infinite potential." She said, "But over the years, I didn't know I'd done this." She said, I'd taken this infinite potential and I'd built this tunnel around myself. She said, "And I didn't mean to do it. I just built this tunnel around myself. And I didn't know that the only thing that I was seeing was through this tunnel. And this tunnel was made up of my beliefs." She said, "Everywhere I looked," she said, "I no longer saw this infinite potential. I just saw whatever I believed." And she said, it wasn't long before I became, and I love the way she said this. She said, it wasn't long before I became narrow-minded and tunnel visioned. And then I remember she cried and she said, "I never thought I'd learn anything from her kids." At that time, Lisa and I were, my sister were, we were doing groups together and stuff. She never thought I'd learn anything from her kids. And she said, and as I've started coming to this community group, she said, these bricks have started to fall out. She said, they haven't all gone. She said, but bricks have started to fall out. She said, I haven't pushed them out. She said, they've just fallen out. They've fallen away. And she said, and more, as these bricks have fallen away, she said, I'm starting to regain my sense of the infinite that is within myself. And I always remember falling in love with that analogy there and then. That tunnel, sorry, that tunnel is ego. The sum total of everything we believe to be true about ourselves and this world. I really love. I Rach. Creates the reality that we experience. This is why I don't see it as an enemy. I feel like it's something that's been so little understood. My name's Dave. That's a belief. But it's a useful belief because in this world, if somebody shouts Dave, I turn around. That's ego. Ego isn't what many people have thought. It isn't like it isn't even a thing. Right? It isn't even a thing. It's not really anything to overcome. It's the part of ourself that we identify with as being as what we choose to see in the world. Now, this is a divine gift, really. when you look at it. It's not something that isn't made of God in and of itself. You know, it's a fabrication of consciousness. It's something that every single human being on earth does. It's something when I've observed my dog does. Amanda, your cats. One of them's super friendly and the other one's super duper friendly. You know, the cats see a different world to each other. They only see a different world because they believe differently. They're endowed with the power of thought. The moment we see other, we are experiencing ego. You see, ego is made from the duality of life. It's made from the illusion of separation, which this is why it's not an enemy, but it's not real. It's the gift that we have to play the game of life as an individualized being on planet Earth, as a separate being on planet Earth. That's how we get to play this game of separation, is because of what we call the ego. And this is why in like Eastern traditions and many traditions and many people in the West now are trying desperately to see past the ego. But you have to ask the question, what's trying to see past the ego? Why does it need to be seen past? What belief is that? Is it the ego trying to see past the ego? Because the soul isn't bothered. The soul doesn't measure. As I was once gifted with that beautiful piece of information, 4 o'clock in the morning. The soul doesn't measure. It's not bothered. It doesn't judge. What does measurement mean? It doesn't judge. It doesn't rate you. It's not going how well you're doing. It's not acknowledging how badly you're doing. The soul doesn't operate like that. The soul is pure love, and pure love is singularity. The ego isn't the creator of duality, it's a consequence of duality. Duality being more than one, two. In Nepal, we have a friend over there, and she says in Nepal they're brought up with the word Advaita, Advaita. And they're brought up with this knowledge, and it means not two, singular. Everything is the oneness of life, which whenever anybody gets a moment of experience of it, they'll discover it's what we call love. And the more they discover into love, the more they'll discover they haven't got a clue what love is, but it's the fabric of everything. It's the unified field. It's our truest state of being. Fear is created from ego. Which is where many people start to see it as a problem. But the soul's not measuring that problem. The true self isn't measuring that problem. The intellect's measuring that problem. The intellect and the ego are one and the same thing. The ego is a fabrication of the intellect. Not something to fight, not something to beat down. I once put a thing up on Facebook when I used to be on Facebook, and I said, tonight's topic is ego. And I wrote underneath it, everybody's got one. And wrote this little blurb about it. And I got these comments saying, some people have done away with their ego. Some of us have done away with our ego. Oh, somebody felt very compelled to write that. Who said that? Me. Oh, there you go. I always remember Jen saying she didn't think she had an ego because she was so meek and mild-mannered. She never thought she had an ego. And then the first training she went on with Dr. Roger Mills, she realized she had one of the biggest egos going. Her ego was, I'm not good enough. I can't do that. I'm shy. I'm anxious. All these beliefs. She didn't know that that was ego. She thought ego was the bombastic kind of big, whoa, check me out aspect to character. Character, ego, character. Same thing. Thing is about a character, it's somebody pretending to be somebody that's something they're not. A character is an illusion. If I play a character in a play, it's clearly not me. I'm pretending to be the character. Well, that's the same thing as the ego, the persona, the personality. It's all created in the mind. It's all a thought. Again, it's something that once we start to understand it, we have deeper experiences of life. I was a man who was convinced he was going to go back to prison, who believed he shouldn't even exist in this time frame. I thought I'd have been better suited in the 1500s, not the 2000s. And I believed I was a mess. I believed I was a fucked up human being. I believed I wasn't good enough. That's another massive trait of ego in human beings. I'm not good enough. And then in 2013, I listened to Sid Banks, and I've mentioned this so many times, but there was this point in a little video that I was asked to watch. I'd never listened to him before in my life, and I was asked to watch this little video, and it's called Goodwill or Goodwill, I think. It's only 4 minutes long, and he's speaking in goodwill, and it's just this little video. Buddy Huggins, I think, put it up, and if he ever watches this, Buddy, thank you, buddy, thank you. Um, there was only 4 videos of Sid, I think, at the time, and I watched this little video, and Amanda, I've shown you it. And he said 2 things that really hit me. He said, he was talking to therapists, and he said, what I discovered is that life is a psychological experience. I'd never considered that. I spent years in therapy trying to iron out my experience, trying to make it better. But I didn't know what experience was. I didn't know what life was. So I was like it was like I was trying to find my way to somewhere on a map that I didn't know, not knowing where I was on the map. And then he said, you think it's real. It's not real. You just think it's real. And I went for a walk, and then I had this experience. I'd had another experience a few weeks before that. And but in that after that experience of kind of being shown behind the veil of reality, having an experience that was something I can't really speak about because there aren't words to articulate it. I've found words over the years, and the more I go into that story, the more ego I create, the more untruth I create, because I try and speak it accurately, but there's no accurate word in the English language or any language. It's non-speakable. It's a non-speakable dimension within ourself. It exists before this experience of reality that we're in now. And anybody who touches it will discover a love that is unspeakable. And they may be given information, they may meet beings, they may do all kinds of things. They'll find themselves in a timeless space. Time is ego. They'll find themselves in a timeless space where they appear to have access to all information. And when I came back from that experience, I died. The ego that was Dave pre that experience had died. And the man that wasn't good enough, that used to intimidate his way through life because he believed that his intimidation was his greatest strength. I could intimidate. I was built like a tank, and I was angry, and I was very good at scaring people, but I only did that because I was a hard man, because I was deeply insecure, not because I was confident, not because I was kind of wired that way. It was because I was a deeply insecure man. So I was trying my best just to feel safe. That's why I was a hard man. And in that moment of that, after that experience, it was just a case of that's done now. And that version of Dave, God bless and rest his soul, died. And I stood there on a what I can only describe as a different planet, the same planet but a different world. And that was when I really got to see that the reality, the whole world, everything we see is a creation of our consciousness. You know, there's plenty of talk at the moment about the ascension of Earth and the ascension of man. I totally believe that's true. I wholeheartedly believe that man is on an upward trajectory of discovery within consciousness. If it can happen to me, it's going to happen to everybody. If it's already happened to people, it happened to people before me. And when that happens, you find yourself kind of more authentic with how you feel. You feel more settled in your ego, less fighting it, and you hold on to it less. You're less attached to it. You're less attached to this is who I am. I am this broken person. And you understand, you see the fluidity of your realities. And you tend to live in this space of acceptance that, sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down. You're human. It's never about escaping anything. It's about learning to understand what it is to be human, and to be human is to be a center point of, I'm going to use Rach's word here, the 0 point within the self. The 0 point being the space from which the reality you are encountering right now, which you take for granted, which we don't look at, which we just kind of forever trying to change, but not even knowing what the hell it is. Thinking it's actually outside of ourselves. To suddenly waking up and realizing, no, the reality I see is coming from me. It's the ultimate in standing on our own 2 feet. It's the ultimate in I can't think of the opposite of victimhood. Can't think of that word. Empowerment. It's the ultimate empowerment, apart from we were never disempowered. We only believed we were disempowered. We were never broken. We just believed we were broken. And perhaps people who didn't know themselves, who've been educated in certain particular ways, they didn't know. You can't know what you don't know. It's nobody's fault. But yeah, ego was something I never really paid any attention to before this conversation, before I had my experience. And in all honesty, it's not something I've paid a great deal of attention to afterwards, other than learning to understand it better. I'm not one of these people who was forever trying to, not consciously, trying to change the ego. But no, the ego is the false self. It's the illusory self. It's the self that sees the separation, that believes it's separate. It's a creation of thoughts. It's a creation of the mind. That's how powerful the mind is. That's how powerful each and every single one of us are. We create a being out of ourselves. That's what God does, you know. God creates everything out of itself. We create a being out of ourself. And we think that's who we are. And I liken that to an ocean mistaken in itself for waves. The ocean is the eternal space from which every single wave is born. Always changing. But the ocean at some point in the human sense forgot it was an ocean, forgot it was the source of the wave pattern. And it started to believe that it was the wave pattern. Now, when that takes place, victimhood is easily born. Fear is created. Fear is us going further into the illusion. The more into suffering we enter, the further into suffering we enter, the further into unreality we have created. The further into suffering we enter, the further into unreality we have entered. My apologies, that was what I was told in the bath once. When I asked for help, I was like, help me with this problem. And these words just came straight to me, and it said, the further you go into suffering, the further you enter into suffering, the further into unreality you have entered. But it's in this unreality that we really start to tighten up and go, right now I need to take control of life. Not realizing that it's actually us at our most lost in our mind. It's us creating an impression of deeper sense of separation from the whole. It's not something we intend to do. It's not something that you can blame yourself for. No need to blame yourself. Everybody does it. Even those who say we've done away with the ego. Then you will just find yourself as the oneness of life at all times. I don't know about anybody else, but I enjoy this life. I enjoy its variety. I enjoy its, I deeply respect. Don't always enjoy its realities. Broke down today, got a bit pissed off. But I deeply respect its diversity. And I deeply respect the fact that nobody gets damaged along the way, even if they believe they have been. Like I say, damaged along the way implies time. And time is a creation of ego, belief. There is only the now. And you've got your hand up, love.
So things like self-esteem, self-worth, self-image, that's all ego.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What I think
Anything you
my
identify with.
identity is, that's ego.
Say that again, love.
What I think my identity is as Ange
Yep.
is my ego.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the moment we split the oneness of life, which never takes place. It never actually happens. It's never once. Separation's never once taken place, ever. There's just the appearance of it. That's why the universe is called the universe, the one verse, uni, singular. Right. And this is what people find when they start awakening, they start to realize the truth of there is no separation. Excuse me. And the more you realize there is no separation in reality, in true reality, no, I'm not talking about like how we feel and what life looks like, but in true reality, there is only this force, and this force is an infinite force, and it's the oneness force, and it's source force. So if you're religious, you'd call it the God force. If you're a scientist, you may want to call it the quantum field or 0 point or whatever the heck you want to call it. It doesn't matter. When there is only that, truly what is there for that to be afraid of? This isn't like a three-dimensional conversation that we can articulate with words or the mind. And I'm not trying to escape anything there. I'm not trying to run away from the conversation. But what I am saying is the truth about life cannot be seen from the perspective of the ego, which is where we tend to live. We walk down the street going, I like that shop, I don't like that shop, oh, I won't shop in that, I will shop in there, I only shop that, I only buy this type of food, I boycott those corporations. I like that politician, I don't like that politician, that politician's corrupt, that politician's an arsehole. Ooh, they look a bit dodgy. Oh, they look nice. Oh, they were lovely, weren't they? Oh, I'm a bit tight on money at the moment. It's the way we walk through the. I need to get from here to there. What time have I got to be there? This is all the ego. This is us taking the oneness of life and dividing it into parts. This only exists in the mind. And it's a personal thing. That's why when I won't shop in, forgive me, when I won't shop in something like Happy Shopper, right? Sorry, like other people will. When some people really like or dislike a politician, I may think the opposite to them and I'll see them differently. Whereas one person may see a hard-looking man as being confident, I may see them as insecure. And because of the way we see differently, we're going to interact with the world differently because we all live in separate realities. But that separate reality is ego. Again, when you start to kind of realize the magnitude of really what we're talking about here, you realize it isn't actually an enemy. It never was an enemy. It was something to be understood. It was a belief that the ego was the enemy. But like Sid Banks said, there is no peace to be found in beliefs. There's never there's always, if it's a belief, it can be argued. And you will come across people in your world who are prepared to argue your reality. Because everybody thinks that the reality they see is the truth. It's not real. You just think it's real. That's why we have these arguments. But this is what the oneness of life did. It created many aspects of itself. In the Bible, it says, as above, so below. So all the power that lies within the whole, within the ocean, lies within the wave. It's all the same thing. What makes the ocean makes the wave. Water. What makes the flowers, the trees, the skies, the planets, the humans, the suns, the moons, the galaxies. Well, science, they call it energy. I don't know what energy is, and I've never really come across a scientist yet. And I've asked them, like, who can give me a decent description of energy. It's a mysterious thing, which means that we are a mysterious thing. But this mysterious thing that we are, we kind of take for granted and we've kind of become accustomed to. Like I said a few weeks ago, we are, as far as we are aware as a species, we are the most magnificent thing we've ever discovered. Yet, in the whole universe, we are the most magnificent thing we've ever discovered. The most infinitely capable of infinite creation. But Why is it that the thing that is the most phenomenal thing we've ever discovered believes there's something wrong with it? Well, it's because it on some level, it knows that what it's seeing isn't real. And I was thinking about this. There's a lot of death going on at the moment, and I was thinking about this the other day, and people were saying, "I can't believe he's gone. I can't believe he's gone." And no, it's because on a level, there's a part of you that knows this is just my interpretation of it, how I see it. On a level, there's a part of us that knows that death's an illusion. That's why we can't believe he's gone. We know that death's an illusion. We know that life's an illusion. So when they disappear out of our reality, we're like, I can't believe that's happened. No, because on some level, you know it's not real. But yeah, this is anything. It's all ego, Ange. It's all ego. And the more we learn to accept, acceptance is one of our greatest gifts, as is skepticism. The more we learn to accept that, yeah, ego is a part of life. It's the way I get to dance around this world as a separate identity, as Dave, as Ali, as Gillian, as Joseph, as Ange, as whoever. It's what I get to do. I get to come to this earth and I get to be whoever I wish. I get to be whoever I wish. I get to play the broken person. I get to play the person that can't do life. I get to play the insecure person. And then I get to wake up from that, having nothing changed, and suddenly find, oh, that was all made up. And the moment you find the made upness of it, as the moment you see through the ego. Ego topic.
So, what is it?
Bit of fluff. Yeah, when you realize it's all made up. If it wasn't made up, everybody would have to see the world like me. Or everybody would have to see the world like you.
Change couldn't happen.
And change couldn't happen. I know you're just coming. Do you want to say it? Yeah, so somebody mentioned, could we speak about ego? I think this individual said that they've realized that 80% of the decisions that they've been making have been coming from ego.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because did you say Sid's definition of
Yeah, but repeat it if you want.
everything we believe to be true about ourselves and this world is ego. So we can't not be coming from ego. We can't ever not be seeing through certain beliefs or filters or thought. Like it's just how we experience life as a human being here on earth. But I do think you get more discerning with your own mind, and you can kind of feel when you're in a very settled down place and you're seeing more clearly, and you can make decisions from there. So starting to notice that maybe you're making decisions from fear, or you're making decisions to please other people, or it's a helpful thing to start to notice, but just knowing we then don't have to go to a war with it. Noticing is enough. Noticing things about our character is enough. I think we're used to doing. We notice something about ourselves and we want to change, we then go to work on it. But I think the more we go to work on something, the more real we make it, the more attention we give it. It seems like it has an identity of its own, but actually you start to realize it's one moment thick. And I think we tend to carry things forward as if they are us. But I think I sometimes make decisions to please other people, sometimes make decisions because it's what I want to do. Like, we're all just in each moment doing the best given how we see life. And I think without the judgment and without the constant kind of narrative and looking at yourself, and I think when I came across the principles initially, I honestly would have said I didn't have an ego. I was very kind of meek and didn't think anyone liked me, and I was like scared of everything, and I'd always want, like, always please people, always keep the peace. And the more I listened on the first 3-day course, I was like, I've got a massive ego. Like, I've created such a concept of who I believe I am, and I live out of it. That's all ego meant. I thought ego meant, oh, I'm amazing, everyone thinks I'm great. But actually it's our creation. And I had so much fixed thinking about myself that I lived out of. I didn't know it limited me. And I think that realization I had on that very first training is it's all made up. The ego's made up. It's a bunch of thoughts that we think and believe to be true, and then we keep re-identifying with them. But actually, you know, if you notice with children, they kind of change so rapidly. Like, they're so into something, that's all they think and talk about, and then suddenly they're into something else, and they've got certain habits that they do which suddenly they're vanished and they're into something different. Like, we're naturally just these kind of comings and goings, but we solidify ourselves by believing our thinking. And Sid came along and said, stop looking at your thinking. Start looking at the power of thought. You are connected to this deep intelligence of absolute infinite capacity for new thought, new ideas, new beliefs, new identity, new creations. We're not stuck with anything we've thought before. And I think the more that we see that, ego doesn't become something we need to work on or see past. We recognize it for what it is, and then we feel more present. But if you think the ego is something you need to fight or to get over or to change, you will preoccupy your mind with trying to fix or change something that is illusionary in its nature, because it changes given how you think in any moment. And I think Sid spoke a lot about consciousness, and it's like, where are we in consciousness? Where are we viewing the thoughts that pop into our mind from? Are we from a state of fear and worry and anxiety, and if we view thoughts from there, they look one way? Or are we in a space of openness and possibility, and we view the same content and it feels and looks different? So knowing that the content and what we make up is not where the power lies. There's nothing to fix. It's a recognition of what it is. And then we are all going to have different feeling states and experiences and think, oh, I handled that really well. Oh, I was really in my ego when that happened. But I don't know, we take it all so seriously. We get so mesmerized by it that we miss we're alive. We're getting to have an experience. And I think the other thing, like, we were noticing with, I know I always give Lucia examples, but she went with you to have your hair cut the other day, and I wasn't there, and she started being sort of quite angry and ended up being bolshy and like pushed the hairdresser and was being rude, and then you were really cross with her, and then you sort of didn't have a nice time for the next hour. So I quietly asked her yesterday, what was going on? Why were you like that when Daddy was having his... No, sorry, she said to me, will Daddy's hair ever come back? I said, what do you mean? She goes, that lady was taking some of Daddy away. I was like, so no, she's cut his hair, but it'll grow back. But so she's 3 and she's watching somebody with her dad take all of his attention because you were chatting to her. And then suddenly she felt like some of her dad was being removed. And so her behaviour then was that she was cross with the lady and she acted out. And I think it was just a reminder
She
to
wasn't
me.
capable of articulating that, was she?
No. And I think it was just a reminder to me that how somebody presents often is not from what is actually going on for them. So what looks like misbehavior, or she's being rude, or she's being bolshy, she's actually feeling really sad, and this woman seems to be the cause of her sadness. So she takes it out on that woman, and it's just, but I thought that's everybody. If somebody's acting out, it's like, if we can listen deeply enough to them or to ourselves, you see there's always something else going on. There's a deeper feeling state that it's coming from, and I think that's why you see the innocence in it. So ego isn't a awful, terrible thing. It's, we get mesmerized by it and it looks real, and we act out of it. Whether we're 3 or 33 or 53 or 73, 83. And I think that's quite humbling. And it breeds compassion when we see that and notice that. I noticed it, Mandy, you had your hand up, so hopefully it's still relevant.
Oh, I just wanted to ask, how do you feel about when you have like these strong ideas about, well, you're saying it's like your ego, which I agree, and it's reinforced to you by people that you know in your family, and actually, I've noticed I've noticed recently, particularly, that started to become quite unhelpful, and I've had messages or contact, particularly with family members as well, like parents and other people, where I realised that within the first couple of sentences, they're reminding me, oh, we know what a horrendous worrier you are. Or, in fact, my doctor did it to me. I've called you in because I know what a terrible worrier you are. And I sat there and I thought, oh God, done a really good job there then. Like I don't know how, yeah, I wouldn't have noticed that before, but now I have. And so this week particularly, it's been like a couple of times a day, every day, really. Oh, we know what a terrible worrier you are. So I just wondered, like, what is, I don't know, I don't.
I love that you've noticed that. I love that you've noticed that, because it means your level of awareness has shifted. Whereas before you'll probably be like, yeah, I am. You
Yeah.
obviously know me really well, but actually you've got a noticing, you've noticed, hang on a minute. So you're questioning, and I think that's amazing.
I do.
I think before it might have been a comfort to me to have had somebody go, oh, because you're such a worrier. Whereas actually this week, I mean, you used the word bolshy. It stirred that feeling up in me a little bit, because I'm like, yeah, all right then. I don't know. I found it unhelpful.
It's one of the things we're really mindful of, and like we notice it in each other sometimes and pull each other up on it. It's like we don't want to label Lucia as anything because she's fluid. And like I was labelled very, very young, the shy one. And then I bought into that label. So then people say, my sister would introduce me, Jenny's the shy, oh, Jenny's really shy. And my mum and dad would say, oh,
We often see
she's just
parents
shy.
doing it, don't we, with the kids? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it drives me mad now, because I think, stop telling them, stop reinforcing.
He's the naughty one. That's what I heard in the street the other day. He's the
naughty one, like
just
like
like
the
his dad.
But you see, it's innocent, because we witness a behaviour in a human being, and then we hold them to that moment and say that's who they are.
Yeah.
And then they might start believing it for themselves. So then if we do get reinforcement that that's true, we think it means more. So we think if there's more people that have the same thought, somehow that makes it more true. Well, we actually know that's not the truth, because you can have, you've had people who have started, these crazy cults that have, done all kinds of things, but they managed to get everybody to think the same.
Freedom thinking.
And it looks so real and true, and because there's more people reinforcing it, you think it's more real, but no, it was never true. And it's the same about someone telling us, you always get like this, or you're really anxious, or, well, they've witnessed you behave like that, so then they hold you to that moment, or they've heard you say it, so they're like, oh, that must be true. But actually, you're the potential for all of it. And I think I love that you've noticed that, because it shows me that there's something happening within you where your awareness has shifted. And actually,
you're questioning it.
The fact that you felt a bit bolshy towards it is almost like you're questioning, is that true? And is it helpful that you're saying that to me?
You're right. I'm good, yourself?
I think you've
You've unmuted
you've
yourself.
unmuted the wrong one, mate. Was Joseph talking to somebody downstairs? Thought he better unmute himself. Yeah, the fact that I love what you just shared. Like the fact that you've noticed, and the fact that you sound to me like you're questioning it yourself. Like
I don't, I mean, I don't know that I don't know that anybody does anything with it. I think it's just, it made me realize, I don't know. I don't know. It just made me think, yeah, that's not, I don't know. Yeah. I don't think I'm saying anything more than that. It's just, I've noticed that this week, and you were talking about ego, and I thought, you know, actually, there's been quite a few times where this week I've just thought, okay, but can we stop? Can we stop mentioning that? Because it's not, I'm not finding it helpful.
Don't
And
dismiss
I
it as a
think,
nothing though.
sorry,
Don't dismiss that observation as a nothing.
no,
Honestly, just because I can see movement.
yeah, because on the one hand, I'm thinking, well, like but that's your fault, because if you're like this all the time, that is how people are gonna sort of describe you. But describing it to you, like telling you, oh, you're this and like you're that. I don't know. Yeah, I just really, really noticed it this week. I picked up on it, and then I thought I felt a bit rebellious towards it, and yeah, I didn't think it would. Yeah, and just you think actually that's being reinforced. That I realized how many times that must be reinforced to me through other people. It's like I project it outwards, but it's also given back to me a lot.
I
And
think the other
so,
not
yeah,
sorry.
it's not, yeah. And so I just think, well, yeah, I don't know. I need to change something because actually it's something that I'm trying to do less because it would help me and it would benefit me in lots of ways. But so I don't know.
But also, I think it's nice because I know, like when you are on the retreat, people said like on the second day in the evening, you look different. And I think the nice thing, I think when you meet people that haven't got the old story of you, they will notice change. Whereas
Well, they
some
also
people,
meet you.
yeah.
Story.
Whereas sometimes I think when people have an idea of who we are, you might have to be different for a while before anyone else catches up.
Oh,
Because people have got that, fixed idea of who you are. So I think it's
no,
being patient with that.
no, I mean, I totally accept the responsibility for it. Don't get me wrong. It is.
No, it's no.
No?
No. The way somebody else views you is not your responsibility. The way somebody else views you is through their own creation.
Yeah.
You're not responsible for how somebody believes. Now,
No,
people
but
get really pissed off with that statement, but you're not. I can't make anybody think anything.
Well, you said you used to want people to have an idea of you and you try and project this idea of who you were and like all this, you try and like put who you thought you were onto other people.
Yeah.
No, but
I know.
But then actually you realise when you then spoke to people, they saw you very differently
Very different.
to how you wanted to come across. So you can't ever make somebody view you in a particular way. They will make up a story about you. Like,
no, I think I just mean I accept the responsibility for the fact that I have pushed my worries out
Yeah.
and
Cool.
onto people. So I accept that bit of the responsibility. I just hadn't realised until this week how successful that had been.
That's
you get a
cool.
gold star for that then.
I think one of the other things why you find that not very useful is because Jen and I have this thing, we pull each other up regularly. In fact, we did it last night on the drive back up north, of holding people to moments in time. Holding people, right, to moments in time, whereby, you know, I'll try and dream up an example.
Give the coffee pot.
Coffee pot example. What go on? No, you give that one because that's
Well, it's just
because you have that conversation. I don't really get to hear it.
my mum and dad have got a particular way they like things, and I think it's their home, and I try and
It's
stick that.
mental.
And then Dave comes in, and he's got his way of doing things, but often it'll be me that the comments are made to. So my mum might get frustrated about Dave using his coffee pot and leaving a ring on the hob and it being out all day rather than being put away. And so then I will take her moment of frustration and then sort of worry about it and think, oh goodness, Dave shouldn't bring his coffee pot down with him. And I make it bigger. And then I actually had a conversation with my mum the other day, like, Dave's starting to feel like he can't do anything right. Like his coffee pot's a problem, his ice cream baker's a problem, and bringing too many clothes. And then she said, yeah, but that was just a moment of frustration. Like we're in the entries, and I feel like that was actually months ago that I said that to you. But I'd kind of held her to that moment in time and like dragged it forward. And I just saw, well, when someone's feeling
To the
frustrated,
point where we had a disagreement. I'm like, fucking hell, are we still there?
but you see how if you hold someone to something they say in a moment of frustration and think that's what they really mean, and I don't know, but I also saw through that honest conversation's really helpful. Like, what can we do? So I had a great conversation. We're like, oh, it'd be better for you if we just had our small coffee machine down here and not have all the different paraphernalia that comes with it. Perfect, we'll do that. But I just saw how it was me then bringing forward a moment in time and holding my mum to that opinion. Where when I then spoke to her, she's like, that was months ago, and that's not how I always feel. And I think it's just so easy to do.
Yeah.
And we just saw loads of examples where that's happened, even with us. And we're like, well, I was
Yeah.
holding you to what you said.
Yeah.
And we talk about it. We've spoken about it in groups so many times.
Because it's just a habit of people.
Yeah.
You know, we hold people to moments in time, and the moment we do that, and I think part of your frustration, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but part of your frustration at that point is you feel like you're not being listened to. Like, because they're going, oh, you're worrying. You're like, yeah, but you're not listening to what I'm saying. You've already labeled this.
It's not present, is it?
And yeah, you're not being present with me. You're holding me to who I've been. And yes, I might have my concerns, but it's like because you are viewing me through the old, well, I'm saying old as in past me, and I'm saying past because it's already happened, me, then you are holding me to moments in time and you're not being present with me now, so therefore you're not listening. And
Yeah.
this is something that I went through with my family.
That
Like,
makes sense.
say that again?
That makes sense.
Yeah, and like I went through this with my family because when I woke up, like I've said this many times, but it took my father a long time to accept me because I wasn't showing up according to his creation of who I am. So he lived in this bizarre state of who the fuck is my son? I don't know him anymore. And he started poking me. He just used to do what he'd always done. He'd poke me, and poke me, and poke me until one day I was like, will you just leave me the fuck alone? Fuck off. And he'd go, there you are. There he is. There's the old Dave. I knew you weren't far away. Nice to see you. He'd say, nice to see you. I said to him, remember the day I said to him, why do you want the old Dave back, Dad? The old Dave was a deeply unhappy man. Why do you want your son to be unhappy? That's weird. And I just walked out. It was the last time he did it. But it's that we can hold ourselves to moments in time as well. That is ego. You know, holding ourselves to the past. This is who I am. Why do I say that's who I am? Because I've got so much evidence this is who I am throughout my life. No, it's not who you are. Who you are is the space from which reality itself is born. That's who you are. Now, that's like the ocean is the space from which the waves are born. you know, and the more clearly we see that, the more expansive ocean we feel, the more powerful we discover we are, and free. I've mentioned this lad many times, but it's beautiful. Just the words, the words, to hear the words in a prison of a lad say, "Dave, I'm free." Can you believe I'm stood in the middle of prison and I'm telling you now, I've never felt more free in my entire life. These walls and these fences were not my prison. My prison was my mind, my beliefs. I didn't know I was doing. I didn't know. I believed I thought that way. This is how I think. This is how I've had a tendency of thinking. I didn't know that. I didn't know that my reality was, the only reality I saw was what I believed in that moment. Belief is created from thought.
And I think that's why Sid was always pointing to what's before all of that. Who's experiencing? Who has always been present in your life through the comings and goings of all experience? What's witnessed? What is before? What is before the creation? Because otherwise we're trying to find and make sense of something that's constantly moving and changing. And we identify with that movement. And I think the shift that took place for me in 2005 is that I felt that I identified with something else that I couldn't put into words. I couldn't describe the principles after this happened. Like I had no idea in terms of a form of talking about it, what happened to me. But I stopped trying to make sense or find myself in the movement of experience, in the movement of life, in the comings and goings of my feeling states. And I recognized there was something within me that had always been there. And like at that time, as a teenager, I'd taken drugs, I'd had some weird experiences, and I saw that even within all of that experience, there'd been a constant. Sid pointed to a constant. There's a constant in our life that doesn't change. It doesn't come and go. It's always present. It doesn't have opinion. It's just this presence or a knowing or an awareness. And I think if we shift towards that space, and these are just words, and it's really hard because you can't do it for somebody else, but you see that when we stop paying so much attention to the comings and goings, we align more with what we are. That people call soul. Sid spoke about pure consciousness, awareness, spirit. There's all kinds of words.
True self.
But it's the comings and goings of our mind are what preoccupy most of us so much of the time. We get lost in that because it's loud. And I remember describing it as, in that 3 days when I was listening, the loudness of my mind, it was like someone turned a dial down on this awful heavy metal music, and suddenly I realized there'd always been this beautiful music in the background, and I started to really like get an ear for that beauty. And the more I put an ear to that beauty, like everything else got quieter. And it's the only way I described it to my mum and dad. They're like, "What are you talking about?" But it just felt like I had a feel or a sense, or I had an ear for something else. Whereas I'd spent years in therapy looking at all of the noise and the shit that went through my mind, and it was getting worse, not better. And no one had said to me, well, if you pay that less attention, there's something else available to you. There's something else that's present. It's just you can't hear it because you're so busy listening to this. If you listen less to that, pay that less attention, what you are is already there. You're not gaining something, you're just feeling and remembering what's already there. And all of those labels and identities that you've created for yourself are made up. But actually, at any point, you can pick them up and you can play with them. And I said, when I went away, I got to try on costumes and characters. Like, I'd go to a party with my sister and I'd be really loud and I'd be like, oh, no, I don't really like being like that. Like, it's like I suddenly tried on all these different types of character, and played with thought, played with identity, played with ego. And I didn't know what the shift that had taken place within me, and I couldn't talk about the principles, but I started to play with reality in a way that I never realized was possible. And then at some point, I think I often say, like, I got involved in sharing the principles, running events, and then I became a 3 principles practitioner, and I was this kind of person, and then I started identifying quite heavily with some of those things, and it became restrictive again. And it was when you and I got together, I felt like I shed another skin. I was like, oh wow. But it was so convincing. I thought that's who I really was.
It was
But
very painful for you at the time.
oh yeah, it was deeply uncomfortable. Like, there's something in us that seems to want to know, this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
We believe the security lies in
And like
our
me
knowing
wanting to
who.
know who you are. This is who Dave is. This is what Dave's like. He's this. And you're like you can change your mind and flip ideas and be so into one thing and then suddenly change and say one thing and then a month later
Keep you on your toes.
think the complete opposite. So it really has gone, well, the security doesn't lie in the comings and goings of your character, but there's a deeper connection and understanding within each other that doesn't matter about all of that. But I think we place our security on, this is who I am, that's who they are. And I think that's again the noise. That's all the noise that comes and goes, which is how, like, I used to be able to, we'd be in the car going somewhere and we'd have music on and feel really close and in love. And then suddenly I'd remember something that maybe had happened or a conversation, and suddenly you'd look like not a nice person. And you realise that nothing's changed in the world, but my thinking's changed and this person appears different. And the same for myself. And so you can see how hard it is to try and make sense of life through that, because that changes moment to moment to moment to moment. When nothing external changes, our mind creates. And like we had a friend round a couple of weeks ago, and then we went to bed quite late, and then I lay there and honestly, it was like anxiety like I have not had in years, like probably since we got together. I could not sleep, and I didn't know what the conscious thought was. I was just in this like almost like vibrating with this anxious feeling. And I was like, wow, like I haven't experienced it like this in a long time. This is interesting. God, Lucia's going to be up in about 4 hours. Really should be asleep. And it was such a weird experience. But if that had happened to me prior to understanding the principles, like it used to regularly, I thought there was something wrong with me. I'd book in more therapy. I'd buy into it. I'd think about it. I'd talk to someone about it. Whereas it was just an experience that it was quite uncomfortable. I was tired the next day. But it doesn't need dissecting or giving too much attention to. And I think that's my experience, and the experience of working with other people, is we just stop labeling and giving so much attention to our experience. And we start noticing there's something else deeper within us that can't be put into words. We keep trying, but we can't. And it's quieter, and it's still, it's peaceful, it's present. All those words are trying to point to something. But I think because even sometimes using the word ego can cause so much thinking for people, because we've got all these ideas and, theories about what ego is.
It's almost as loaded as God.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a word that people have got strategies to make bigger or overcome or see through, and
Polish.
Like there's all this stuff you can do with ego. So to leave it alone and see it for what it is, it's a very different come from. Leave yourself alone. Stop trying to fix yourself.
I'm not a problem to be fixed, as one young lass said.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that. I said, we've been speaking for a couple of weeks now. Tell me what you've learned. And she said, well, I've realised I'm not a problem to be fixed. So, I like that. I'm not a problem to be fixed. Wow. That was a really cool thing she said. I probably can't even read this. I wrote it. I can't even bloody read it. I've tried before. We don't see the gift of ego. We come to this world to play unique and freedom of infinite creation, even the greatest darkness. This world and the people on it are actually one of the most free of any dimension. Let me read that again. We don't see the gift of ego. We come to this world to play unique and freedom of infinite creative. Fucking hell, Ellery.
Terrible writing.
It's terrible writing with no punctuation. It's because I just scribbled it down. We don't see the gift of ego. We come to this world to play unique and freedom of infinite creation, even the greatest darkness. This world and the people on it are actually one of the most free of any dimension. Why? Because we can create heaven and hell. We have the power to create heaven and hell within inside ourselves. That's what heaven and hell are. They're states of being, levels of consciousness. They're not geographical places within the universe. They're states of being now. That's why Jesus said, if you forgive, you go to heaven. Dead simple. Yeah. Holding on to the past, holding people to moments in time, or not having forgiveness, you live in hell. You suffer that experience. You live that experience. You live in that feeling state. And the moment you forgive, like one girl in South Africa said when she forgave people who nicked a mobile phone, said, "Do you feel like you mugged yourself a little bit?" And she went, "No." She said, "Dave, the weight of the world's come off my shoulders." Yeah, she found heaven. And then she knew what to do. She got a phone back. But our belief, one of the core beliefs of the ego, is it needs to protect itself. It needs to defend itself. That's why I was a big man. That's why I was a hard man. That's why an individual needs to look perfect. I'm trying to be protecting myself. I'm trying to protect myself here. I'm trying to be the best. Because if I'm the best, I'm safe. The ego doesn't feel safe because it's not. It's a ball of thoughts. It's a creation of our mind. We give life to it. It's born of us. It exists in duality. And duality is the only home of fear. Because fear requires two. It requires you, me, to be afraid of that. I am afraid of that. I am afraid of that. I am afraid of you. I'm afraid of the future. It needs something to play with that appears to be outside of itself. When in actual fact, the only thing any human being has ever been afraid of in the entire existence of humanity is its own thought. Because it's the only thing it's ever experiencing. We don't see that. We blame outside of ourselves for our experience. We did Dr. Keith Blevins died, and him and Valda were two of the people who I feel like in this conversation were two of the most staunch, if that's the right word, in a good way, like non-moving and accurate. It's probably the most accurate word. Of hammering home to people that reality only works one way, and it's coming from inside of you 100% of the time. even when it looks like it's coming from outside of you, that experience is coming from inside of you. When people say I'm experiencing life outside in, no, that experience is still coming from the inside out. I'm experiencing outside in is an inside out experience, because there is only inside out. From inside, from your 0 point, as Rach likes to call it, from your 0 point, from your consciousness, from your birthing ocean, comes all experience, even the idea that something outside of you is hurting you, causing you pain. I'm not talking about somebody giving you a dead leg or whatever, anything like that. Physical pain is still an experience from inside, because there is nothing you get to experience from outside. But I'm talking about psychological experience, emotional pain, fear, suffering, grief, guilt, worry. Look at worry. Worry is one of our greatest delusions. It's based in time. The future doesn't exist. It's only because of our capacity to dream the idea of the illusion of the future, do we have the capacity to create, because of our ultimate freedom, to create the experience of worry. I love what Amanda said on the retreat when she said, I used to think that worry was me taking life seriously, like me holding the reins of life and taking it seriously, like I'm being responsible. And she said, but I realized it didn't actually solve any problems. And your relationship to worry changed in that moment, which is maybe why you're starting to get a little bit fed up with people calling you a worrier. Because in your reality, there's been movement. But just because it's been in your reality, our realities are so convincing, we think everybody else sees it. We think because the way we see the world is so convincing, we assume everybody else must see it. So you look at these people going, what the fuck aren't you keeping up with me? No, because they're not keeping up with you, because they're still stuck in the past. They're stuck in their beliefs. That's where you got to be patient with people in this game. You have to be patient with people in this game. You're going to come across people who hold you to moments in time. I know people who still hold me to the version of myself that went to prison.
There was a lady that wouldn't even say hello to you in Staveley. At 25 years old.
Yeah. They hold me to that moment in time as though that's who I am. It's their life. I'll just be polite and courteous and nice to see you. Hope you have a good day. There was a time I'd have got really upset by it, but I understand now people, what somebody else thinks is not personal to me, it's personal to them.
It's funny as well, someone said the other day that it's strange that Dave would be like that because of what he teaches. And then there's something else to do with me. It's like, it's strange that would bother you because of what you teach, as if somehow when you share this, you're immune to having experiences that you lose sight of things, or you blame something, or you judge something. Like, you're still a human being.
Yeah, you get caught in the illusion of,
and we are very human. And I think we always try and share those stories, but then often you work with people and I think, yeah, but it's a bit different for you. Like,
yeah.
And I think
that it is on one
it's
hand.
different to how it used to be. But I think anybody that has some awareness around this, they'll get lost in the illusion, lost in the experience, and then there'll be like a quiet kind of,
they'll think they've got one over on life.
Yeah, but I think like we are all in it together. Like, my reality doesn't look less real to me than your reality looks to you. Like, reality looks real. It looks it's real. And
Yeah.
but there's always, I feel like there's always a little something in me like, this looks really real, feels really real, but I kind of know it isn't, even though I want to go with
You
it.
know this is temporary.
Yeah,
You know this is all going to come to an end, and you're going to
this
look.
feels
It's all going to look
important,
different,
and it feels like, so important, and like, oh, everything's that there's a little suspicion there that maybe it's not
it's
such
not.
a big
I don't
deal.
even so much. It's a suspicion. It's a knowing, on some level, that
But it makes you then suspicious of anything you think.
totally. Yeah, that's true.
But even like with the car breaking down today, I'm like, oh my God, well, if I didn't need a whole new car, well, I wouldn't want a really shitty car. Like I quite like having the car that I've got because it's helpful, obviously, having
At
it.
the same time, we're trying to buy somewhere to live.
Yeah, and like it's like, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. But then at the same time, prior to the principles, I would have literally gone down that road and been like, oh my God, like I would have been. My car had already broken. It was gone. I was going to have to try and get a new one, and where was I going to get the money from? And the disaster. Whereas I'm like, oh, all of that thought kind of could come in, but you just don't take it as seriously. And I'm like, well, I'll deal with whatever it is when it happens. We'll do something.
Let's find out what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you just come back to your senses quicker. Keep coming back to your senses. You come back to the moment. The moment of like, we had a friend who shares this, and he used to say, "Where are my hands?" And you're like, there, when are they? And it's like, well, now. Well, where are you? Where do you exist? And we exist now. We don't exist outside of time. I can't remember. Was it Jamie that used to do that? Was it
I think it's,
Christian?
yeah, Jamie.
But we exist now. Life takes place now. I can't deal with the car that's completely broken and knackered and I need to get a new one because that's not what's happening now. Like,
And that's why it's so kind of debilitating, because you're fighting. You're trying to fix an illusion.
you're trying to solve something that hasn't actually happened.
Yeah.
But when life does happen, I was saying this to you, it's interesting. When I used to always think, God, my dad's going to fall apart when he loses his parents. Like he was so close to them. We used to see them every week, and he never wanted to move outside of like the area so that he was close enough to see his mum and dad regularly. And then I was so amazed at how he actually dealt with it when it did actually happen. And there's been so many things. Like even I think I said it last week. Had so much thinking about my mum and dad moving, and it's the home that I moved there when I was 3 years old. It's meant a lot to me, and I've had all this emotion come up over the last 6 months. And then on the last day, I was like, it's just a house. My mum and dad are taking all their stuff to a new house, and we'll get used to that. And it was not a big deal. But my imagination trying to deal with leaving that house, it felt overwhelming and sad, but the reality, you dealt with it.
Holding the house to moments in time.
Yeah, I've still got all my memories of it.
Yeah, but it's like I was walking around like, oh well, that's where we had the tent, and Lucia spent half her life in a tent. Lucia spent half her life in a tent by the time she was 5 months old. She'd been in a tent for 2.5 months, big tent, and like it was just such wonderful memories.
And like having Rusty there,
and Rusty and the crow and Charlie the crow came to live with us and came on holiday down south and looked after this crow that I brought up from a chick, and yeah, he came down south and came camping with us for weeks, didn't it?
but it was funny because I had a new, like, just before the move actually happened, I had the new thought of, oh, this is a fresh start. Like it's actually goodbye to the old and like something completely new. There's no memories attached to this new house. It's like it's a new, and it suddenly felt exciting. And so I had a different experience of the move. So it's not that that's more right, but it's just a new thought popped in. I had a new experience. So all of the sadness just vanished. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And like getting rid of loads of old stuff and allowing like space for new stuff. And you shift thought, you shift experience.
You shift reality. Your reality, yeah.
And that's why it's always up for grabs. Always. But it's just so nice to not try and fight the ones that we think are wrong, the ones that we think are uncomfortable, the ones that we think are scary. You can see them for what they are too. And you don't have to try and hold on. Like I've had some days with Lucia where it just felt like everything has just fallen into place and we've just had the best day and she's been in the best mood, and And the old me, like if anything, I'd want to hold on to that. Like I want to hold on to it. And before the end of the day, I would have ruined it because I've been desperately trying to hold on to it and maintain it. Whereas you just realise life is fluid. It's a movement, but you don't go anywhere. That's the constant.
It's like the ocean, doesn't go anywhere. Wave pattern changes. Does anybody want to say anything?
I'm going to ask Demir as well whether he did receive. I sent you the paradigm diagram and information, but it hasn't got a blue tick, so I didn't know if you had a new number.
Thank you very much.
Oh, cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, mate.
It means very much to me. When I look at the diagram, it automatically reminds me about the ways, especially connected with the emotional upsets and how thought as a principle works. So thank you very much.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, when I saw your name, I suddenly was like, did I send that or not? So I looked at my phone to check I had sent it.
So is it thought as a principle? You know, people want to talk about the thinking, and that's never really where Jen and I are. It's not what that's not what set either of us free, wasn't looking at our thinking. We'd spent years doing that, each of us in therapy. But it was the discovery of the power of thought as a principle, the principle behind all experience. What we give the word thought to is really the space from which our realities are manifested. That it's the infinite fluidity of water, the wave pattern, the ocean. Thought as a principle, thought as a thing that's eternal, that's non-negotiable, that's not man-made, that's divinely and like endowed within every single being. And the eternal energy of infinite creation. Don't confuse the principle of thought with what you think. That will be like confusing an ocean for a wave. No, the wave came from the ocean. What you think came from the principle of thought. Two very different conversations. One's going to get lost in the details and you know where the devil lives. And the other one's staying out of the details, but it's looking at the principle. It's looking at how it works. Thank you, Demir.
About I've got supposed to have forest school tomorrow, but obviously the car's now at the garage, and we actually have a perfectly good van that I'm insured on that I could drive there.
I'm going to need it
But
for work.
well, I've got too much. I could drop you there.
You could, yeah.
But I've got so much thinking about the size of the van and these tiny roads, and my spatial awareness isn't very good. But I've spoken to people that have had similar things, and that's such an issue for them, where I'm just like, I've got a load of thinking about driving that van. so I don't drive it. Like I've got thinking about it's too big for me, but then I've got a friend who's like 2 inches shorter than me and is driving a van bigger than our van, and she absolutely loves it. She like feels, she goes, I'm so high up and I can see everything. And I just think when I first came across the principles, and I know people that I speak to sometimes end up using it against themselves. I should see this as thought. I should be able to see this as thought and overcome it. Or I should, like, we start trying to make it a very mechanical thing. Like I can see that I've got a load of thinking. It can't be the van. It has to be the way that I'm viewing it. But that's not then a problem I have to try and fix. At some point, I might see it differently and be able to drive the van, whatever. But I think you stop worrying about all that
It
stuff
was
so
like the
much.
girl in South Africa who was terrified of lifts and she was medicated.
Yeah.
Right. And me and Jen are like, oh,
Why don't you go on the stairs?
use the stairs. You don't need to be medicated if you use the stairs.
Like, but it
Yeah.
become her, like, because she was so scared of lifts, she was in therapy. That was like an obsession. Can't go in lifts, and it's so important that I go in lifts. And if I don't go in
Somebody
lifts,
was making a fortune off that girl, weren't they?
oh, I won't be able to go to an airport because there's lifts. Well, like, there's normally stairs as well. Like,
Yeah.
the I think you stop.
It's not degrading somebody's suffering either,
No.
is it? But it's like it's that
But you also stop making a
It's the-
problem over things.
exactly.
Like
Stop taking
they've got all these things that I don't really, if I really saw it, then maybe I would do differently with it. I'd give it more of a go, but right now I don't, and that's okay too. I'm not going to then make that an issue that I need to work on. But I am open, and I think that's something I'm really starting to see, just being open to seeing different. Can I be open to doing this differently? And like I've said to you, we very rarely have disagreements and fallout. But I said what I've noticed over the last 6 months is I'm the one that's come to apologise first and just say, should we just make up and move on? Where historically you're always like, come on. And I said, so I've been open.
I'm getting more stubborn.
I'm getting less stubborn, you're getting more stubborn. But it's like being open to seeing different, open to movement. Whereas I used to like hold on to this idea that I'm right, or I don't know, it keeps me safe, whatever it was, I don't know what it was. And you just hold on to things less. So things that you've historically lived out of, suddenly you're not. And you didn't even know when it dropped away. But I think, the stuff to do with the van and my thinking around that, there hasn't been any movement since 2020, no, was it 2020 we got the van. And so what?
It's all a game. It's all a game.
Means I don't have to go to school as well.
Doesn't mean you don't have to get to school. I love the way you've got Forest School tomorrow.
Well, the thing is, it's forest school, it's actually really lovely, but I still get the same feeling of like, I've got to go to school tomorrow. Like I used to get when I used to go to school because I didn't like school.
You haven't mentioned Lucia once with regard to this Forest School. It's all about you.
No.
I've got Forest School tomorrow.
Well,
Oh, God, I've got to go.
she doesn't necessarily like it that much either.
No.
She likes the other one. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Does anybody want to share anything? Say anything?
Did you mention treat?
I did, but you're welcome to do it.
Did
I think
you
it's better
remember
if I think it's better if you do it.
Did you remember the date?
First arrival the last day of May, 31st of May,
31st of May.
and it's for a 1st of June start.
4 full days and then check out Friday, the 5th of June by 10 o'clock.
So there's an extra night involved, isn't there?
Yeah. And it's at Thorney Howe
Yeah.
in Grasmere, the Lake District.
So yeah, so it is 4 days, but you can stop if you wish the final night as well. There's no extra charge for the final night. We haven't been charged any extra, so we're not charging you lot any extra. So it's so what day is it arrival? Sunday?
Sunday, 31st of May. And
Yeah.
then I think the Monday is a bank holiday.
Carnage.
Yeah.
The carnage in the Lake District.
No, not if you arrive on Sunday.
Not if you ride on the Sunday, no. No, if you arrive on the Sunday, you'll be all right. But yeah, there's an extra night, so people are welcome to stay over the extra night and go home on the Friday, have a bit more of a leisurely stay.
We'd like also the last day to not be about packing, to
Yeah.
just be able to have the full day together. And
Yeah.
it's, hopefully we'll have a, like May, June's normally the best weather, I think, up here.
Yep.
So, and we've ordered that. Wendy from America's coming again, so she's also ordering that weather for us.
Yeah, she's very good at ordering weather.
She is.
She brought good weather to Coniston.
But I'm excited. We haven't done one in Grasmere for 6 years or something. And it's a lovely little village. So
Yep.
please contact us if you want more
If
info.
you were to draw a cross in the English Lake District, if you were to draw a cross right across it, where the lines cross, that's Grasmere, or beyond Grasmere. So it's right in the middle. And we're really near, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, I like earth energy lines and ley lines and stuff like that.
Stone circles.
Stone circles, and I find them fascinating what those people knew and how they understood the earth and the ley lines and how to work the lines and how to redirect them. And I find it fascinating anyway, but we're very near some very significant places globally, apparently, when you're in Grasmere. So we might even one of the days have a walk up to Grisdale Tarn, which is supposed to be pretty significant. And yeah,
They also have Emmersdale, which does the best carrots in
Yeah.
Wales. That's important.
that's important. The best carrot. It's a 9.5 out of 10 from me, right? I am a world authority on carrot cake. Yeah, very good. So there you go.
So and ley lines, an important
And the
significant places.
gingerbread.
Yeah.
And the gingerbread.
And the gingerbread.
And Wordsworth's garden.
And
Yeah.
Wordsworth Garden, yeah.
Daffodil Garden.
Food, flowers, ley lines. Us
Yeah.
two, you lot. Exploratory conversation. In Grasmere, in the English Lake District. So, what's not to like? Yeah, so the price is $795 per person. $795 per person. So that's for 1, 2, how many nights is it? 5 nights, 4
4
days. Breakfast and dinner included. We do that. We don't do lunches. People can help us make their own lunches. There's a basic kitchen. Yeah. But people often, we find, if you do breakfast, people want to bugger off into Grasmere and go and get cups of coffee and get their own lunches and stuff like that. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it. So if you're interested, info@freedomthinking.co.uk, or you can direct messages on Facebook via Freedom Thinking. And this has been a via donation event. If you've enjoyed it and you'd like to make a donation, please look in the description below. Yeah, it supports Jenny and I. Like we say, we're trying to get ourselves somewhere to live. All contributions are and fix our car. All contributions are greatly accepted. So thank you anybody who does make donations. We really, 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 really appreciate it.
And next week we'll be back Monday.
Yes.
Monday again.
Unless something
untoward happens.
Which it might.
It might.
We don't. Thank you all for being here. See what horrific picture
That was so fun.
YouTube decides it's going to choose for me this week. I always end up looking like probably like me, actually. Right. Love you all. Thanks so much for being here.
Night night.
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 Hopefully see you Monday next week. God bless everyone.
Night night.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.